Okay, before we start learning where we left off, okay, tonight is Rosh Chodesh, so don't forget Yalav Yavai. It's 2 days of Rosh Chodesh. So tomorrow begins Rosh Chodesh Elul. So there's a lot of different customs. Our custom is tomorrow morning at Shachris and then in Mincha we say L'David Hashem Oiri. So that we start tomorrow after the Yom, or Baruch Enough shall explain in a second, and my Mincha before Aleinu. So we say L'David Hashem Oiri starting tomorrow morning. As far as shofar blowing, our custom is that tomorrow we blow privately, in a private room, it's called L'Islamid, to practice, but the actual shofar blowing that we blow every day in Elul after davening begins the second day of Rosh Chodesh. Now, which is Wednesday. So Tuesday we begin saying L'David Hashem Oiri. Now it's interesting, before we get into shofar for the second day, so davening tomorrow is a regular Rosh Chodesh davening. You have davening, then you have half Hallel, and then you have half Kaddish, then you have Torah reading. No, I'm sorry. No, full Kaddish, and then you have the Yom. So you have the Yom, and then you have Baruch Nafshi, and then you have the David Hashem Oiri. Why is it in that order? Why do you do first Baruch Nafshi and then David Hashem Oiri? So, it's a good question. Yeah. So the Mater Ephraim says the reason for that is because there's a rule, Todeh v'she'enu Todeh, Todeh Kedem. More common and less common, the more common goes first. So because Baruch Nafshi is said every Rosh Chodesh, and the David Hashem Oiri is only said Rosh Chodesh Elul and Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah, so it's only 2 times. Rosh Chodesh you say it Baruch Nafshi 12 or 13 times, or more if it's 2 days of Rosh Chodesh. So therefore the bottom line is, you say after Kaddish Teskabel, after Petition Shemon Esrei, you say the Yom, Baruch Nafshi, L'David Hashem Oiri, 1 Kaddish after all the 3 Kapitlach, and then you have the regular Torah reading of Rosh Chodesh. What? Yeah, but I'm saying Rosh Chodesh, now you have Rosh Chodesh. So Rosh Chodesh, you have Baruch Nafshi and L'David Hashem Oiri. So on Rosh Chodesh, which one do you say more? So Rosh Chodesh, you say more Baruch Nafshi than you do L'David Hashem Oiri. So then also, so shofar blowing begins the second day. Now what do we blow? There's a lot of different customs what you blow also during Elul. So our custom is to blow Tekiah Shvarim Teruah Tekiah, Tekiah Shvarim Tekiah, Tekiah Teruah Tekiah. So we blow Tashrat, Tashat, Tarat as it's called. Some people only blow Tashrat, Tekiah Shvarim Teruah Tekiah. But our custom is we blow Tashrat, Tashat, Tarat, and that's what we blow. Also from the second day, second day of, first day of Elul, in other words, second day of Rosh Chodesh, we also add 3 chapters of Tillim every day. After the regular Yom Tillim, we add 3 chapters a day, and then through Yom Kippur we add 6. And if we end up by the end of Yom Kippur, we finish the entire Tillim additional time. Yes, sir? Okay. Now, what happens, the Rebbe writes in a Yom Yom, what happens, let's say on the 3rd day of Elul, you forgot to say chapter Zayin Chastes. And you remembered now on the day later, so first you make up that, you do that day first. Yud Aleph Yud Beis. And then you go back to the Tillim that you missed. Okay, that's about davening tomorrow, and tonight you have to say the Yalav Yavon in daven in Shemon Esrei, don't forget. And that's it, 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, and then there will be a minyan for those that want to say Slichas, starting Thursday at 5:15 a.m. Huh? No, somebody in the middle of Shiva does not daven for the Yom of Rosh Chodesh. They never daven any time there's a Musaf, even during Shiva. So, same thing, he's a regular Oval, except he has precedence over other Avelim if he's in the middle of Shiva. But even during Shiva, you don't daven. Okay, that's as far as the next 2 days go. Let's get back to where we were learning yesterday. about the dinim of Tfilas Mincha. We discussed there's an argument in halacha, what happens if is it better to daven with the minyan in the not best time, or to daven with by yechidus in the better time. So we learned there's an argument in halacha, different opinions. Some tzedek holds it's better to daven bisman without a minyan. Other poskim say it's better to daven with the minyan, not bisman, not in the proper time.
Someone's sitting shiva for a brother.
No.
Could daven on a shayrish?
I mean, technically he could. He's not the chiyuv of he doesn't have a chiyuv of kaddish.
He doesn't? Even though he's a brother? I mean, a brother's sitting shiva.
Are there children? In other words, like this, I know a lot of people do it, but according to halacha, if a person who passes away has sons, they are the only ones that are obligated to say Kaddish. There's no obligation to say Kaddish. And 1 second, let me finish. The brothers have no obligation to say Kaddish if there's children. If there's no children, so some people have a minhag, for 30 days, they'll say Kaddish for a brother. But is there an obligation for them to say Kaddish? No. They don't have rights to the Yomid before anybody else. There's no obligation. Now, the only obligation would not be as an obligation for them personally. If somebody passed away without children, and there's a brother that's able to say Kaddish, and nobody else, so obviously a closer relative is preferred, preferable to say Kaddish for a closer relative than a stranger. So technically he would be able to daven. Huh? There's nothing to do with saying halal. He has to say halal anyway. No, I take that back. 1 second. Well, it depends. There's a question, does the Aval say, do you say Tachnun, halal Rosh Chodesh in the base Aval? The Alter Rebbe Shchunar says one thing and the minhag is differently. The Alter Rebbe says, you don't say halal in the Aval's house during Shiva, and when people go home, Rosh Chodesh, I'm saying, and people go home, they should say halal. But the minhag is not like that. The minhag is they say halal and Beis Aval, and the Aval walks out and he doesn't say halal.
If the person who passed away has children, but they are not Shomer Shabbat.
Oh, again, so if there's nobody else going to be, they're going to be saying Kaddish.
They say, but they're not Shomer Shabbat.
So what? So what? Their child, they're still the parent's child. So they should be saying Kaddish.
Should their brother who's Shomer Shabbat do it for them?
If he wants to, he could. Is he obligated? No. No, once there's children, the obligation, or if there's only girls, and in religious circles, girls don't say Kaddish so for a parent. So, again, so if they want to...
But they can, right?
It's not so simple that they can. So again, should he daven halal? Maybe he shouldn't daven halal. He could daven for the Yomid, he shouldn't say halal. Somebody else should say halal. And he should say the half Kaddish. In this case, Rosh Chodesh, he should say that the skabel, the guy that davened Shmoneh Esrei should say that the skabel, not the guy that said halal. Because the skabel we learned last night is on the Shmoneh Esrei. Okay. Now another interesting thing in halacha that it's not a minhag, that what happens if you daven mincha very late? It's already night. You don't say tachnun. You don't say tachnun at mincha. But our minhag is, even if you daven mincha late, we still say tachnun. Because it says you don't say tachnun at night. But again, our minhag is that if you daven mincha, even if it's late, so then the prayer you do say tachnun. How late can you daven mincha? We learned yesterday, halachically, half an hour after shkia.
It depends on Rabbi, but doesn't it depend on if you have the different shores? Like Satmar has 1 minute, 90 minutes at least.
Satmar doesn't have 90 minutes. They have Rabbeinu Tam's shkia with Rabbeinu Tam's opinion. So it's not... because by them it's not night yet.
And then you say late.
What?
The half an hour after Shkia, it's an exact half an hour, or also it depends on the
No, about half an hour after Shkia, but you have it. You have to daven mincha before Shkia.
But that half an hour is good.
Yeah, half an hour. Okay, so you say tachlis. Now, what an interesting din is as follows. This applies only to Friday night. What happens? Somebody comes late to Mincha, and the minyan is already starting Kabbalah Shabbos. The minyan is starting Kabbalah Shabbos. So, if the minyan already accepted Shabbos, now when does the minyan? Friday night, okay, Shki obviously, okay, sundown you have to accept Shabbos regardless. But if you're davening earlier, when is Kabbalah Shabbos? Like you have an early minyan on Friday, right? When halachically the Shabbos begin for them? Because it's way before sunset. It's after Plaga Mincha. When does the obligation of Shabbos begin? Which part of davening do they say that makes acceptance of Shabbos? So, in many poskim hold, when the minyan says Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, that sentence after L'Chodedi, Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, that's what acceptance of Shabbos for the minyan. Now, if somebody comes to an early minyan, right, until the minyan says Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, they couldn't talk on the phone. Remember, it's not Shabbos here by them. Once the minyan says Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, then according to many opinions, that's when Shabbos begins. According to the Alter Rebbe, it doesn't begin until the minyan says Baruch Hu. When the minyan says Baruch Hu, that's Kabbalah Shabbos. Okay? So now, what happens if a guy comes into shul and they're about to say Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, or they already said it, okay? And he didn't daven Mincha yet. So the din is he's not allowed to daven in that shul. He has to walk outside another room to daven. He can't daven in the room where the minyan is, because the minyan already accepted Shabbos, and you're davening Mincha for Friday. You can't daven Friday's Mincha on Shabbos. So you have to walk out of the shul. You could go outside the shul, a different room, whatever. And therefore, if he didn't daven Mincha yet, and is accepting Shabbos with that minyan, he's not coming later in minyan. He shouldn't answer Baruch Hu. If he hears the minyan say Baruch Hu, he shouldn't answer Baruch Hu, because once he says Baruch Hu, for him it's accepting Shabbos. Because that's the minyan he's davening in. It's not that he came early for the second minyan. Then it doesn't matter.
Can you say two Shemon Esrei for Ma'ariv?
So you'd have to say two Shemon Esrei for Ma'ariv. Two Shabbos Shemon Esrei. But we'll get to that later when we learn Halacha Shabbos. But the bottom line is, if a guy comes late to shul and the minyan already said Baruch Hu, he has to walk outside. He cannot answer Baruch Hu. Once he says Baruch Hu, he's already Shabbos. He can't have a Mincha anymore. Unless if you make a condition, but that's not such an easy thing. Like for instance, it says in halacha that when a woman, I know we're jumping the gun to Hilchot Shabbos, but when a woman benches licht, when a woman lights the Shabbos candles, by her it's Shabbos, right? So technically she can't daven Mincha, Friday Mincha after licht benching. So it says tak in Shechanarach, a woman should daven Mincha, if she davens Mincha every day, which she should, a woman should daven Mincha before lighting Shabbos candles. What happens, she's running late and she wants to light Shabbos candles, so then she has to make a condition that she's not accepting Shabbos with the candle lighting.
They do that, Rabbi, by Erev and Kippur, don't do it.
Erev and Kippur, yeah. It says you shouldn't do it only Leis HaTzeirach when it's important. Because normally when a woman lights Shabbos candles, by her it's Shabbos, she can't go in the car anymore. If a man says Baruch Hu, if that's the minyan he's davening at, he says Baruch Hu, then it's for him it's Shabbos. If it's Shabbos, he can't daven Mincha. There's all these various complications. Okay, that he should daven Mincha, okay, we can continue now. So next din in Kitzur over here is the dinim of Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv also has halachos. Okay, so there's two aspects of Ma'ariv. There's the obligation of davening Ma'ariv as a tefillah. Then you have the obligation of saying Shema. It's two different obligations. So the fact is we do them together. We say daven Shema, we say Shema in middle of Ma'ariv, middle of Arvis. But the parallel is two separate mitzvahs. For instance, Ma'ariv, technically we learned already the last few days, you could daven after Plaga Mincha. After an hour and a quarter of halachic hours before Shkia. If you daven Mincha before that, so technically like the early minyanim Shabbos, right? What do? You daven Mincha before the Zman, and then you accept Shabbos early. That's one din. And that you could do after Plaga Mincha. But the Shema, saying Shema, that you have to say Bizman, that you have to say at night. Which is after Tzeiser Kochovim. So you could daven technically, like Friday night minyan, right? You could daven Ma'ariv early, and you did the mitzvah of Ma'ariv, but you have to do the Shema again later, because Shema you didn't say in time. Shema is part of davening, you said in time. But the mitzvah of Shema is Shema, you have to make sure to say later.
How early, when is Plaga Mincha?
Plaga Mincha is an hour and a quarter of halachic hours before sundown. You have to, we learned just the other day, you have to know how long an hour is, okay, whatever. So Plaga Mincha this week is like 5:53. I mean, that's this coming week, I'm saying, Friday. Okay, so that's the din about Kaddish. Okay, now, so Ma'ariv, to come back to Ma'ariv. So you have the obligation of Ma'ariv, you have the obligation of Krishma. Okay, now, some people have a minhag, in Kitzur says, nowadays there's a minhag, you daven Ma'ariv right after Mincha. Why do you daven Ma'ariv right after Mincha? Because you won't get a minyan for twice. You know, people are not going to stay that long. In many shuls, by the way, even the other sides of town, many shuls daven Mincha, right away they daven Ma'ariv afterwards. They don't want to keep the people, they think the people won't stay. And they daven Ma'ariv right after Shkia. You know, right after, again, Apidin, it's questionable, but the bottom line, the way they do it is questionable. But you have the Krishma for sure, they have to say later. Api Kabbalah, it's interesting. Api Kabbalah, it's not good to bring my Shabbos, even Shabbos and early, it's not good to daven Ma'ariv early in Api Kabbalah, you don't do those things. Okay, Ma'achin is no Ma'aseh Ma'amech Ve'evo Ma'in Kim Shebala Gal Teiro. Hanan Rakashe Merodot, Geboch Zak Sofi Gechibel Ham Termitz Shnamad Adina Chofetz Man